You don't seem very fiery to me. You seem
I
like
get
you
crazy.
might just...
I get crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You don't want to set me off.
The video clip that you just saw was from Access Hollywood. It was an interview in 2016 with Rob Reiner, the late Rob Reiner, and his son, Nick Reiner. And if you're here, you probably heard already that just recently, Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Reiner, were heinously slain, allegedly by their son, Nick. And so I want you to use your discernment here. I'm going to play another clip or several clips from that Access Hollywood video interview. And I want you to use your discernment to see if you notice some differences in the way that Nick is behaving as opposed to his father. But before I do, just in case you don't know the backstory, Nick has been on drugs since he was 15, and he's been in and out of rehab at least 17 times. So keep that in the back of your mind as we play this next clip. Let's go.
Sort of like a 4-year process. Like first we started out with this like slapsticky half-hour comedy pilot that was horrendous, bad jokes and everything. And he looked at it and was like, eh. And then
I just felt he could go deeper. He could go deeper with it. I mean, it was funny, but I felt the subject matter, should allow him to go deeper with it.
Yeah, well, that wasn't said at the time. It was sort of just like, this is trash. But anyways.
Okay, so that was the first part of the interview, and that's the very beginning of the interview. And so what I'm noticing already is there's a difference between the type of autonomy that Nick has in the conversation, and you'll see that as it goes along because I'm going to play more of the video. There's more autonomy, conversational autonomy that Nick has as opposed to his father, Rob. So I'll give you an example of what I mean here. When I'm looking at two people and one person could potentially be abusive, I try to figure out who has the most freedom to say whatever they want. Example, I have someone in my family, a sibling, who is extremely, toxic, for lack of a better word. And when I talk to this person, they'll say things to me like, you're a coward. We'll text each other, you're a coward. The things that you say to me, you would never say to other men. She's basically saying that I'm afraid of men, and I don't say the things that I say to her to other men. Meanwhile, she's lied on me. She's done, all kinds of things that are just terrible, and I went no contact with her. But my point is, a lot of times when you see two people and they're having a conflict, one of them is like trying to babysit somebody else's narcissistic shame. And, the other person just has the freedom to say whatever they want. Let's try the next clip.
How bad did it get at home between the two of you?
It's reflected in the movie where the father character talks about how, he didn't know what to do, so he listened to anybody who had a desk and a diploma to do exactly what you're talking about. But the truth of the matter is, you have to be who you are. And I made mistakes in that I didn't go with my gut instinct and the feel. And I know Nick better than, some expert who's never met him. And I think had I listened to my own instincts, I would have done a lot better by Nick. But, you do what you do. You're a parent.
Okay, so wow. So Rob is admitting a little bit that he wasn't the perfect parent, and that his, main motive and objective was to keep his son safe. And I noticed he talked about like how he wouldn't listen to psychologists. He said, I know my son better than these people these professionals who were telling me, basically they were telling him that the son is trying to manipulate him, and he wasn't listening to them. He was trying to give his son the benefit of the doubt. And it just goes back to the point that I've made on social media so many times. A lot of people think that when I talk about going no contact, right? There's a trend. Oprah just did a podcast where she was saying there's a trend that where adult children are going no contact with their parents. But my point here is, when you hear people say things like, I don't want to talk to my parent again, or in this case, if he were to say, I don't want to speak to my child because I need to set a boundary, they're displaying toxic behaviors. My thing is I'm not only on the side of adult children who want to go no contact. If Rob were to say, you know what, I think it's time for me and Michelle to go no contact with our son, they would get so much hate online. People would guilt them and they would say, well, why are you going no contact with your children? That's wrong. But then look at the results. Allegedly, their son killed them a few days ago. They had to have seen warning signs, red flags. I see red flags in his behavior. He's very nonchalant. He looks like he's smoking. When I say he, I'm talking about Nick. And Rob is just doing his best to prove his loyalty, like trying to let everyone and Nick know that he's there for him and that he wants to, and that he's even able to self-reflect. There was a part earlier where he was saying that, this movie that they did together, Being Charlie, he let his son, it sounded like he let his son write a lot of the movie and really express his experience about their relationship and about his drug habit, all throughout the film. And Rob said this allowed us to become closer. So it sounds like Rob is trying his best to self-reflect and give his son a voice, an authentic voice of autonomy. But I don't feel that Rob has that same type of autonomy. And this guy's just sitting there with the smirk on his face, and he knows it. And it's upsetting to me because I've been through this with a sibling, where you're always trying to prove your loyalty to them, and they're just sitting back and allowing you to do it. It's like that. That relationship that they have with you where you are the one who's showing empathy, but they're not reciprocating. Anyway, let's continue.
Yeah.
Were you ever worried that that Nick could shine poorly on your career or something like that?
No, that never crossed my mind. I mean, he's my son. I love him. It doesn't matter. He's more important than anything that could happen to me. I care more about him. He's most important.
I don't believe you.
Jake and Romy and my family, they're the most important. So that doesn't factor in.
That was very performative. I don't believe Rob. I think it feels like Rob is a good guy, and he wants his son to know, like maybe he felt like he wasn't there for him because obviously, I mean, if you're a director and he started off as an actor, he probably was extremely busy and maybe he didn't have enough time for Nick, and he feels guilt about that. And so, what he wants Nick to understand is that I'm here for you, and, the only thing that matters is my family. He's trying to let Nick know that he's trying his best to be a good dad and be present. That's what it feels like. You let me know in the comments what you think. And, but it just seemed very performative when he was saying, Nick is all that matters. Not that he's lying, but he really is trying to prove his loyalty to Nick. And, like I said in the beginning of this video, I think I said this, there are so many people who would kill to have a father like that, who cares about them. We all know that our parents aren't perfect. And, a lot of people have experienced neglect, be it because the parent just doesn't care, or in this case, the parent is out, working and making big money. And, I have a sibling who works in Hollywood, and, it takes sometimes 18 hours to film each day. So he's there, he's probably working 18 hours a day, and he's trying to let his son know that I'm doing the best that I can to let you know that I'm here for you. And I think he thought in the back of his mind that this could harm his career, but he's taken that risk, and he wants his son to know that I don't care, even if it did ruin my career, I want you to know that your love, my love for you, trumps everything. That's the vibe that I'm getting from him. But let's continue.
What is your advice, Rob, to parents who might be in this situation with a kid that's struggling?
I think listen to your kids. Go, try to spend as much time you can with your kids. Try to understand your kids, and don't punish them.
Wow. So, it sounds to me like he has obviously self-reflection. He's trying to say, be there for your kids. Don't punish your kids. He's trying to be a good dad. Now, that doesn't mean that he was a good dad when Nick was, a teenager, when he was a child, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, my God, like I just did a video talking about Oprah's podcast, and, I saw some parents on her show, and I've seen many parents on social media where you cannot get them to self-reflect. And the only thing that they're doing to their adult child is causing like a phantasmagoria of negative emotions. I see arrogance with Nick. And I see a man, it was kind of cringeworthy, to be honest, watching this interview. I see a man who really is trying his best to let his son know that he wants to be there for him and have a relationship with him. And it's just so unfortunate if that is the case, because like I said, there's two sides to every story. But if that's the case where he's a good guy and he's trying to be there for his child, and then for this to happen where Nick allegedly murdered him and his mother, it's just absolutely just over the top. It's horrible. What do you think? Do you see red flags in Nick's behavior? I would love to hear from you in the comments, and make sure you subscribe for more videos like this.